Welcome back to Kind of Funny Scream in Review. That's right, we are ranking and reviewing every Scream movie. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by, it's Christmas in September, Joey Noel.
I am so excited to talk about this movie. It took everything in me to not text. I texted at least one thing last night. Really wanted to expand. Very excited to finally get to talk about this.
Hell yes. Of course, we have the producer slash seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Man, this one, this one.
This one, everybody. This one, strap in. And rounding out the group, of course, we have James and Elise Willems.
Like a fine wine, Scream only gets better the more of them that there are.
How wine works, right? The more wine, the better it tastes.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. This is Kind of Funny's In Review, where each and every week we get together to rank and review two different movie franchises. This week, we're finishing out Scream, as it is now, at least. We're going to do Scream 3 today, and then Scream 4 will go up on Friday this week, and then we'll return to this in January when the next installment in Scream comes out, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait to see what it ends up being, whether it's a sequel, reboot, somewhere in between. Who the hell knows? Next week, we are going to be getting into, what is that? Is it Venom time, Joey?
It's Venom time.
It's Venom time. We're doing a Venom rewatch, and then Venom, Let There Be Carnage on Friday. Very excited for that as well. But like I said, this is Kind of Funny's In Review, where you can watch it on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. You can also get it as a podcast. Just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny In Review, and we'll be right there for you. You can get the show ad-free by going to patreon.com/kindafunny. And you can also watch live as it's being recorded, just like our Patreon producers get to do. Molecule and the Kind of Funny Destiny 2 PC clan. I'm talking about you. And you will not have to hear our ads for HelloFresh and MeUndies that everyone else will later. But for now, let's get into it. Scream 3. This one had a runtime of 1 hour, 57 minutes. It was released on February 4th, 2000. What a year. What a time. Unlike the previous Scream films, there was an increased emphasis on comedic elements in this installment, and the violence and horror were reduced in response to increased public scrutiny about violence in media following the Columbine High School massacre. This was once again directed by Wes Craven. Got some fun facts about him for this one. Wes Craven filmed 3 different endings and didn't tell the cast which one he was going to use. The film never had a public test screening. That's pretty cool. The cast and crew only had their first chance to see the finished product at the premiere because of fears of spoilers being put out on the internet. Throughout the movie, the actors and actresses of Stab 3, the movie within the movie, complained about rewrites and 3 different scripts. These complaints actually originated with the real cast of the movie because of how frequent the rewrites and different endings they had to shoot were. So couldn't tell.
I'll tell you what, they had 3 different endings, and this was the one they went with. This was the one they chose, Elise. They were like, this is the strongest one. Yeah, for sure.
So this is the first Scream movie that was not written by Kevin Williamson. This one instead was Aaron Kruger, an American film producer and screenwriter, best known for writing 3 of the 5 installments of the Transformers movies, including Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, which features Patrick Dempsey, and Age of Extinction. Patrick Dempsey was hired the day before shooting began for Scream 3. Dude. He had 1 night to learn 3 big dialogue-heavy scenes.
Knocked it out of the park. Let me tell you one thing right now. You guys don't remember this because obviously Grey's Anatomy was a huge thing in the, I'm going to say early aughts. I don't know when that show started. Probably 20 years ago. It's been running for like 30 years. But McDreamy, everyone knows, is Patrick Dempsey now. But prior to Scream 3... James, when was the last time you remember seeing Patrick Dempsey in anything before Scream 3? Loverboy, maybe?
You can't buy me love? You can't buy me love. The memory that I would need to.
So, Tim, like, we all grew up with this movie called Can't Buy Me Love, which
remade as Love Don't Cost a Thing.
Exactly. Oh. And I don't even want to get it started on which one's better because there's pros and cons to both. Patrick Dempsey was huge, and then he did Loverboy, which is my personal favorite because he's a pizza delivery boy that shags a bunch of his clients. And then he disappeared. And then I remember seeing him in Scream 3 and being like, I can't tell if that's Patrick Dempsey because he grew up. Like he's in his like late 20s, late 30s in this movie. And I was like, I don't remember. He was like dorky in those movies, and he's kind of like. He's kind of smoldery in this a little bit.
He filled out.
Yeah, it was.
He's got the good hair.
He does have great hair.
Patrick with the good hair.
Could I just for a moment thank Nick for calling it the early aughts? Thank you, Nick.
I thought you were going to ask Kev to raise James and Elise's mics a little bit because I don't know about you guys. I'm having a little trouble hearing them.
Yeah, if you guys can bring that mic a little closer to you too, that'd be great.
Yeah.
How about
Wanna hear
now?
those sweet,
How's
sweet
that
Is that
sound?
better?
Perfect.
Much
There
better.
you go.
Much
Sorry
better.
about
Thank
that.
you.
I
Very,
had
very
him
much.
I'm
dialed
sorry.
up.
If
Yeah,
I may
sorry.
rebut to Kevin's question, what else would I call it, Kevin? Only a savage would call it the zeros.
Yeah,
Ugh,
it's the
zero.
odds.
This is the odds.
Wait, who calls it the zeros?
I don't know.
No one
I
Savages.
just- some people
Oh,
don't know
okay.
how to refer to the 2000 to 2009 period.
I thought you were gonna say that Kevin does.
No, Kevin's
No,
a big
I'm
Ott
heavily
supporter.
pushing the odds campaign.
We're pushing odds real hard right
You're
now.
you're fighting a campaign against no other candidate though.
Nope. It's
You'd be surprised.
no
You'd
one's
be
running against us.
surprised.
We're fighting it against stupidity, like always.
Mhm.
And James, this one's just for you. The music this time done by the same guy, Beltrami. Beltrami took inspiration from other composers for the score, again incorporating excerpts of the score to Broken Arrow by Hans
Yeah.
Zimmer in the track
Yeah.
Sid Wears a Dress.
Yeah, it's a little. I felt it because even Dewey has his new twist on his theme, but it feels like someone was like, "Oh, well, I guess we have to do that again." People loved it so much. So like when you hear it, you're like, I don't get the feeling. When you hear Dewey's song, you're like, oh, I feel something like physical, like I'm connected to this in some way. In Scream 3, not at all. It's just like a pale replica.
This one had a budget of $40 million, which is more than 1 and 2 combined. It had a box office of $161.8 million. The film set a record its opening weekend in February 2000 for the number of screens in the United States, with 3,467. It also made it the 7th widest opening for an R-rated film, and it is the 11th highest grossing opening weekend in a February of all time. So it did pretty well. Even though the budget was a lot higher there. And yes, this one does pass the Bechdel test easily, just like the rest of the Scream movies do. Elise Willems, I want to start with you. What did you think of Scream 3?
Now, as you know, Elise growing up had the Scream trilogy box set, and I'm going to tell you, Scream 3 got more play than 2 because it's a real fun movie. 40% on Rotten Tomatoes compared to the 79% of Scream 2? I don't think so. Scream 3 is a fun film. It's campy. It doesn't quite make the messaging, doesn't quite lampoon the genre as well as Scream 1 does, but it's got a hell of a cast. I was really excited for Joey to watch this one because I knew Joey was going to have some big reactions, and I'm excited to hear what Nick thought because Nick, I think, could go either way on this one. But God, this one, it's so, I love that they're like, we're in Hollywood now. Because that's the trajectory of this. And I think Sydney lives in like nondescript California, Northern Cal. I don't know. But
It seems real
she's
easy
up in, like,
for
Mendocino
everyone,
or
all of the major cast to just make
just
something
set on Los Angeles. Yeah.
It's never really an issue.
I just think it's like such a fun trajectory of the camp of these movies. And I know, like you were saying, Tim, it was a reaction to real world events, the dialing back on the violence. And I do feel like it doesn't have as many fun scares, killings. It really doesn't have that. However, I do think that in the fun and humor that it harkens to and compared to 2, it makes up for it a bit. Oh my gosh, what's her face?
Parker Posey.
Parker Posey
Parker Posey's
is
the
just
best.
like perfect. I mean, she's always perfect, but she's so
Yeah.
good in this, and like
He's
giving
wearing the
Nev-
exact same outfit that Courtney Cox wore in Scream 1.
It's so great. And then like giving, making Patrick Dempsey the like love interest of Nev Campbell. It's
Well-
like, what?
Well, making him the love interest, but also taking every opportunity to make him seem suspicious.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my
he,
gosh,
like,
yes.
Basically, every single time he pops on screen,
Yeah.
there's the sound of a knife, like the shink kind of like sound effect to scare you.
Nev Campbell's got a great golden retriever now. It's got everything I could
Cherokee?
want.
You mean Cherokee the dog?
Is that his name? Ooh, Nev. That's not yours to take. That's not yours to take, Nev.
Maybe
I enjoy this movie, faults and all.
Now, Nick, with that type of setup, we need to know where you landed on Scream 3.
It's interesting. When I watched this the first time back in the day when it came out in theaters, I did not enjoy this movie at all. I think it's because in my brain, it's still in my brain. I think where they needed to angle this was they needed to try and do better than the first movie. But now that there's been quite a significant amount of time that's gone by, I can look at it for what it is. That would have been trying to chase Scream 1 is that was the wrong choice, and I'm glad they didn't go with it. They drove this straight into the camp. They hired everyone that could have possibly been hired for their budget that was popular on MTV during those days, including Jenny McCarthy, who, if you came of age in the late 90s and you weren't aware of Jenny McCarthy, you were sleeping under a fucking rock. I had so much fun watching this movie and recapping it. It's not scary. It makes no sense. And I loved every second of it. Bring on Scream 4 and Scream 5.
That is exactly where I'm at with this movie, where it's like, man, Scream 1, especially now that we've seen these three, Scream 1 is special. And I think that 2 and 3 only make 1 more special. It really makes you realize that there was a lot going on there. And like, it's funny that we talked about how much watching parodies of it and, you know, kind of being as familiar with jokes of it as the pop culture thing itself can sometimes like cloud your judgment and make the original thing feel less good. Scream, I just think at this point is now even better for me, where I'm like, damn, that shit, they got the sauce and they really succeeded. 2, I was a little bit led astray. I wasn't that into it. And I was kind of like wanting to like it way more than I actually did. This, oh my God, they were just like, all right, we have what we have. Let's just go for it, and let's just be as ridiculous and over the top as possible. I love that throughout this entire thing, like I had multiple moments where I didn't ask myself, who's the killer? Like I did in number 2. I was asking myself, wait a minute, does anyone care who the killer is? Like that seems like such a not even the plot. Like this movie is just like, let's just have fun with these characters that we all know and love for some fucking reason, just because we've been with them the last couple of years. But it's so funny to me that this movie I know succeeds because it has multiple get hype moments. When they're about halfway through this film and the entire cast of the original movie is kind of together again, I was like, let's go. I don't care what it is you guys are about to do. It's going to make me happy. It's going to make me laugh. And when Randy fucking Meeks comes back, and it's not from the dead, it's from a VHS tape that he pre-recorded, I was like, this is brilliant. This is exactly the level of, I don't even know what to call it, but I'm going to go with brilliance. I'm sticking with brilliance here. It was fantastic. The cameos that come out of nowhere. I guess Carrie Fisher's just here. Why?
Love it.
Why?
Love it.
You know, and it's like they kind of play it straight, but I also
Jay
just
and
don't.
Silent Bob.
And then here's Jay and Silent Bob. Like, sure.
Amazing.
Why the
Patrick
fuck not?
Warburton's in it. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Dewdrop. I love he calls
Yeah.
Dewey Dewdrop.
Wow.
So
Wow.
funny.
Fair
So
enough.
goddamn funny.
We gotta go, Spice.
But once again, I think my least favorite part of this movie is Nev Campbell. Like, it's so
God,
funny
yeah,
they just
so
put her front
true.
and center on the poster and shit. Because it's like, I just would have thought after the first movie that she would be the main character, and she's just really not. Somehow, Dewey and Courtney Cox are still the heart and soul of the Scream franchise. Joey Noel, what do you think?
If there's one thing that's gonna sell me on a movie, it's campiness. And man, does Scream 3 come through on that. Like in the notes that I took on the movie last night, I would say a solid half of them are just about the casting choices because I didn't look at the IMDb before I watched it. I wore my shirt specifically today. Josie and the Pussycats is the best movie ever. Join the Army. It's from Super Yaki because Parker Posey is perfect in this movie. She's incredible in everything, but in this movie in particular, her being Gail is just
So
perfection. I fucking love her. She has some of the best lines in this entire movie.
My lawyer felt that.
What's the other one? Oh, so you asked her out and she said no. Like, just so perfect. I love her. Patrick Dempsey, no idea he was in the movie. I guess I had watched this, but just didn't have
He
the
wasn't a thing back
contextual.
then.
I guess I just didn't have the context for it because I liked from when I watched Grey's Anatomy. I loved Scott Wolf when he was in Scandal, and like all these things that I've watched, like obviously since I watched this from the first time. You have Heather Matarazzo, who is Lily from The Princess Diaries, is Randy's sister. Like all of just these like random things. I'm like, this is incredible. The plot for a lot of this doesn't make a lot of sense. Why does this random producer have like all of these hidden trap doors in his house for all these weird things? Oh, there goes my camera.
Joe's camera went
my
No, she's being attacked.
She being screamed.
no, my
Hey,
camera
all right.
overheated.
Yeah.
Oh no.
My camera overheated. We're gonna work on that. But it's just perfect. It's perfect and I love it. I'm gonna work on my camera. Hold on.
James Williams, take us
Thanks.
home. What'd you think?
Oh, well, you can say it.
No, please go ahead.
I mean, I think we're all on the same page with this one. And I think we even talked about it a little bit in the Scream 2, where it felt bumpy, right? Scream 2 felt bumpy, but I think it was bumpy so it could get us to this, right? I would rather hang out with someone who's like really, really smart and educated and knows a lot, Scream 1, or someone who's just a complete fun-loving doofus, right? Not someone who thinks they're smart but is actually a doofus, and that's where Scream 2 kind of lands. You know, kind of like an Elise type. um, but
you told me I was smart.
I married you, so you must be either very smart or a doofus.
At least you're definitely either a Scream 1 or a Scream 3. You were not a
Thank you,
Scream
Tim.
2.
Thank you. And a smart thing to point out right now would be to tell you that Sydney is supposed to be 22 years old in this movie.
Nice, perfect.
She's like 35.
Yeah, straight up.
That does not
Working at a
read.
call center.
Yeah, I think this movie, Tim, like you said, like half the time you're like, wait, am I supposed to be concerned about the mystery? Like, it's really not like an issue. It's more like, will they, won't they? And like just going to the like they just throw bodies at it. You know, you don't even have time to like learn or care who any of the people are. You think about the opening of Scream 2, and by the time Jada Pinkett is like being murdered, you're like, oh my gosh, like I kind of built a relationship with this person, and now they're dying in front of me.
You didn't have a relationship with Jenny McCarthy?
Don't care. None of them. Jenny McCarthy, the guy who plays Dewey, like Dewey in the movie, like he just literally runs inside a house and then he goes, "I'm gonna explode," and explodes. Like it's just like.
Holy shit! There's an explosion in this movie.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just nobody cares.
He's got the great moment with Gail Weathers where she's like she meets him and then we'll talk about it later.
Well, because but still, the movie doesn't care as much, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't because you don't really ask any questions. Joey, I love that your relationship with Randy's sister is not from Devil's Advocate because that's where it came from for me. Very different. But yeah, it's silly, it's stupid, it's fun. I don't think it's good, and I don't know that it was like all of it was intentional. But I think at some point in the finished product, they were like someone along whether the editor or not was like, no one's gonna care. Let's just keep moving. Let's keep moving. But that makes it fun. I think that makes it fun.
Absolutely. Before we get into the plot, I want to give you guys some fun facts here. The house used during the climax, where most of the killing takes place, is the same house that was used as a school in Halloween H2O. It's a little crossover situation going on there. And then this is a question for you, for anybody, but I think Nick will have the answer. The Jay and Silent Bob situation going on in this movie, are they standing in the exact same place that we see in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back?
It kind of feels like they are, but that was my question. I was like, what is this supposed to be in reference to? What is this an homage to? Because I don't know if that was the same. Like, I have no idea.
It was. I think it was a reference to the fact that they go to the studio
right?
or whatever when they're in Strike Back. They head to Hollywood and go to
because they go on the tour in the studio, right? And then they
I think so.
off.
That's how, because before I ever saw Scream 3, I knew Jay and Silent Bob were in it.
Well, you were a big fan of them.
Because I watched.
Didn't you do a Halloween costume?
I was once Silent Bob for Halloween. I had no Jay, so I just looked like a hobo. But yeah, so like I just remember someone let me know like, oh yeah, they're also in this movie, because I thought it was really cool that they appeared in like a universe type thing.
Yeah,
and they're also in Scream 3, and it wouldn't be until years later. But that was at the time that I recall like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and they had like this Hollywood vibe. So I think the implication is that while they were there, they ran into the Scream folks.
It's kind of cool. It
raises a lot of questions,
and
like
weird, but
they
Rats and Scream.
Connie Chung.
Yeah.
But they also did we talk about the fact that Carrie Fisher was also in both movies?
Well, that's weird too. But I mean, the thing is, I was thinking about that. I thought way too hard about this, Nick.
Yeah.
But like, that kind of makes sense because Jay and Silent Bob are like the characters in the View Askew universe, right? But then there's a lot of actors in those different movies that act as different characters. Carrie Fisher being two different things isn't that weird.
That's not weird.
But I don't know.
That was such a weird take you out of the movie moment. Where they were like, wait, are you? And she's like, no, I just look like her. I almost got Princess Leia. I'm like, wait, this is breaking my brain. But if there's one thing I'm a sucker for, and I know James is too, is movies about movies. And I love them. I fucking love them. I don't care if this is not real. It's just so fun to go. When they go to the production office, I was like, yeah, that's what a production office would look like. And that's where they keep the props and stuff. It's always fun for me.
And then the last two things I got for you here, this is Scott Foley's feature film debut. So that's interesting. He didn't know he was the killer until 3 weeks into shooting when one of the production.
Scott Foley. I thought Joe, you said Scott Wolf.
Oh, sorry. That was my bad.
I was racking my brain. I was like, wait, when was Scott Wolf in
Me
this movie? Did I
too.
watch the same thing? Scott
no,
Wolf was
I
from my
just
Party of
always
Five or my
get
so-called
them
life.
mixed up in terms of name.
Yeah.
And then the other
Makes
thing
more
that
sense.
I love here is that throughout the film, Sydney is seen wearing Greek letters around her neck, and that was from Jerry O'Connell.
Yep.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
It's Scream 2. Yeah. So
She's only
fun
22.
stuff.
She hasn't gotten over it.
Well,
That happened like 6 months ago. You know.
spoiler alert, she gets over it pretty much by the end of the movie in like the dorkiest way possible. And well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about
I'll
it.
talk about it
love
right
it.
about now. Let's get to the plot, everybody.
Punk's your brother. All right.
Please tell us the story. Hey, please tell us the story of Scream 3. We start on the scariest thing I could possibly imagine. Los Angeles traffic. Cotton Weary is stuck in it, and he gets a call on his cell phone, so he hangs up on his car phone.
Thanks so much, car phone. To get an answer on his cell phone.
On
I
his cell
fucking
phone.
loved this. It's so silly.
I think you guys just need to understand how difficult it was growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. He probably had a pager in there too. There was just so many different confusing ways to be contacted. But it turns out the person on the other end recognizes him because she watches his show 100% Cotton,
Cotton.
which is the worst name for a show
Silence, Nick.
It's the
Silence.
best.
No,
It
it's
is the
great.
best.
ever.
It's the
What
best.
what other like pun or play on words would you have if your last name was Cotton? Come on.
Cotton candy.
So good.
Oh yeah, that 100% Cotton or Cotton Candy for a TV
I mean,
show.
it's okay. So let's talk about this. 100% Cotton is a great name, but not for this weird, like, hard copy Maury Povich show that he is doing, which is totally like, I don't know. It's perfect for the movie. I just hate it. But you're supposed to hate this character anyway. And shout out to Lev Schreiber for coming back to this role. Anyway, she tells him, "You're a naughty boy, Cotton. What would your girlfriend say?" And he says, "What makes you think I have a girlfriend?" He goes, "Because I'm standing right outside of her shower door." And it's like, oh no, it's happening again. The caller wants to know where Sydney is, and he's willing to kill to get the answer. Of course, Cotton races home while Christine gets out of the shower and drops her wet towel on the carpet, which is terrifying because you're not going to get that smell out of there, and it's going to be mildewy.
And this whole thing, I will say, she's walking through this house dripping everywhere. And I'm just like, what
Towel off in the
is
bathroom.
her problem? Like,
And-
why would you do this? But then there's the payoff. And I'm like, they knew what they were doing.
Also, like, that actress was from Melrose Place, right?
I think so.
Kelly Rutherford. She was also in Gossip Girl.
Oh, okay.
That's what I know her from.
Hmm
Ghostface has cut the phone line already, and 911 isn't answering. So Christine is all alone when she hears Creed start playing in the background. Now, Tim, I know what you're going to say here. You're going to say Nick always thinks every band that sounds like that is Creed, but I looked it up. It was actually Creed this time. I'm not crazy. Cotton comes home, of course. Let's see. Christine hears Cotton come home, but when she goes to greet him, it's Ghostface, and he chases after. She chases her up into the bedroom where she locks herself in, and then he starts stabbing through the locked door. Cotton comes home and searches for Christine. He sees the knife marks on the door and starts freaking out. So he busts in.
I was saying we get the full evolution of the voice changer
Yes.
at this
Mm.
point, which is it can do any
Any
voice,
voice.
living or dead.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether or not it's heard the voice before or that voice has ever spoken. It can do it
Well, I
perfectly.
have a theory about this, but
Okay, go ahead.
Hit us with the
hit us with
theory.
that
Let's
theory
go.
right
we'll talk
now.
about when we get it. No, because I know why. Because James is upset because he has her mother's voice.
He uses Sid's mother's voice, which is on the recorder. How?
I think because
Well,
he found the old movies she
He
was
found the
in.
old movies. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And
My
okay,
assumption is all you need is a sample of someone's voice for this
Yeah.
this highly sought after technology to be able to recreate your voice. Now again, this is where my brain starts working. Why in God's name would you not just have this technology and then sell it to the United States military for like
Yeah.
billions of dollars? Why do you even want and then fund your own stupid shitty horror movies? That's what I
Yeah.
plan to do on one day with Kevin.
Wait, you're gonna scan his voice?
No, Kevin's gonna help me sell it to the military because I don't have military contacts, James. I'm
Oh,
just a
right,
simple
right.
guy from Riverside, California. Kevin, on the other
I
hand,
got some military friends.
He's
I'll
got
get
some
you- I'll
military
get you a
contacts.
deal.
Nice. Good
so,
to know.
oh, by the way, I'm gonna need samples of everyone's voices after this podcast because you guys
Here
are
it
gonna
is.
make
Yeah,
me-
already got him. Already got him.
Thank you,
This
Kevin. See?
pretty early in this movie, around here, you see the voice changer thing. It was when I realized what this movie was going to be, and that excited me. It scared me a little bit for a second, but it
It's so
excited me as
stupid.
it went. It's so stupid, but I love the concept and idea of this guy's a talk show host, so it's like they have a lot of clips of him speaking. Like if his voice was being used, I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool and that makes sense. But then yeah, as it goes on, it's just whoever the fuck they want in any way, shape, or form. I was like, why not? It's fun.
But you know what it reminds me of every single time? The moment where John Connor calls home and
yeah.
it's
How's
it's
Wolfie?
Vasquez
Your
answers.
foster parents are
Oh
dead.
man,
Yeah, your
knives
boss
through
knows
the
Just hangs
milk
up.
crate. Oh no,
Wolfie's
milk box.
fine.
Terrifying. He's like, what is your dog's name?
Yeah.
What was the original dog's name? It wasn't Wolfie, right? It was something else.
Rufus or something like
Something
that.
stupid like that. He's like, what's wrong with Wolfie?
Yeah, I like that he's a super advanced robot AI, and he goes, "Dogs, wolf,
He
wolfie."
comes up with Wolfie.
Hey,
No,
dog,
Fucker.
If I were the other Terminator, I'm like, can we stop for a second? Fucking Wolfie, that's the best.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
go, I'm sorry, I was under pressure. He busts down the door, and Christine comes in and hits him with a golf club. She knocks him out, and then Ghostface stabs her in the back for her efforts. Cotton and Ghostface fight, and Cotton loses, but not before Ghostface reveals his voice synthesizer can synthesize anything. And this man, I'll tell you what, this movie was way ahead of its time when it came to deepfakes. Sydney. Then I guess he stabs the shit out of. I forgot. I didn't write that in here, but Cotton gets stabbed to death. Sydney comes home.
I think the transition from stabbing Cotton to the title screen is really good in this
That's
movie.
great. They
I
finally
like
got
that.
it in this
Yeah,
one.
they finally got it, but they finally got it with honestly easily the weakest intros to these movies. Like Scream 2, for all its faults, that intro was fantastic, and Scream 1,
Okay.
oh my god! But at least sing it. Go
I
for it.
love the meta version of this, of Cotton being a nothing part in the first movie, and now we're opening it with he's now the cold open. He's in Hollywood. There's helicopters over. Like, I think it's so fucking campy, and I love it. James Willems, Funhouse.
Cotton Weary lives in an apartment complex, but has a home the size of a multi-story house.
Yes.
And that does exist here. I am aware that exists. But he gets a parking spot right out front. Come on. What are we talking about here?
that is
Rip me
the
right out of it.
least-
Shatters
absolutely.
the illusion.
Super unbelievable. See, that always happens, by the way, when they do anything in San Francisco, and I just fucking roll my eyes and think about that time that I legitimately had to pull over in a Califood Mart and smoke a cigarette because I had been looking for parking for an hour in my old
Oof.
neighborhood.
You can't watch So I Married an Axe Murderer. It'll drive
No.
you crazy. He's
No.
constantly.
Or
He's
Basic
constant.
Instinct.
I feel like there's like 5 or 10 shots in that movie where he just makes that half U-turn right to where he needs to land.
Yeah, pisses me off every single time. We cut back over to Sydney, where she comes home to her remote, heavily alarmed compound alongside her faithful golden retriever. Now, I know we're all dog lovers here, and I love a good golden retriever like anyone else out there. But would this be the dog you chose to guard your fucking house? Would it be? Because
No, retrievers will go home with anyone.
Yeah, they don't care. I would have a team of like 3 to 4 German shepherds, and I would keep them
Maybe a Rottweiler for
just
funsies.
hungry enough, right, Joe? Like just hungry enough so that maybe after a couple days, there's only 2 of them left, and I'm like, good. They ate the other one.
I also like how she comes in that gate, she closes the gate, and then uses like a keypad to like
Gate
set
lock.
it or whatever. It's like I mean, I could hurdle that gate in one step, or better yet, I could reach around and do whatever I
Unlock
needed to. Like it's like the worst gate ever.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's one of those things where to compare it to another series that we're gonna do, the Halloween franchise, right? Where you see them kind of thinking out and thinking through where Jamie Lee Curtis's character would be after all of the shit she had to deal with. And I think they did a better job there. She's got floodlights. She's got guns under every cabinet. She's training in the background to like shoot shotguns and like she's awesome. Yeah, fucking grad. In this one, she's like, I have an alarm pad, and like that's what you learned.
And a golden retriever.
A golden retriever, like, oh man.
Well, I
Brutal.
know that this is like such a stupid thing to nitpick, but like out of the life that this woman has lived, she's going to decide in her free time to stay at home alone making phone calls.
Yeah.
Like, what the? Like, I would never answer the phone again.
I wouldn't have a
What
phone.
are you doing?
I wouldn't have a phone. I'd be
Damn,
like,
I
what
didn't
is the
even think
one
of that.
commonality between all of these things? The phone.
The fucking
Yeah.
phone.
What have I been most traumatized for? And that's what
Yeah.
I'm picking
Yeah.
for my free time.
She could have been a knife salesman or something like that.
Going around selling Cutco to her neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Of course, we do see her manning the crisis line, the California Women's Crisis Counseling line, which I actually thought was kind of a cool thing for her character because she actually ends up being able to do that remotely. We cut over to Gale Weathers, who has not changed a bit. And I love Gale's character arcs in all these movies because it's the same arc every single time.
Oh my
She
God, though.
starts
Can
as
we
a
just
selfish-
talk?
the
Can we
bang.
just talk
I know
about
he's
it?
going to talk about.
Thanks.
I know he's going to
Yeah.
talk about.
You want to
Yeah.
bang this out real quick?
Let's bang it out, Nick. Oh my God.
No,
Like,
Elise, hit me with the
unintended, yeah.
bang song.
Bang da dang ba dang dang. Courtney Cox's hair. Bang da dang dang dang.
That's perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome
Nailed
to
it.
Bang It a Dang It a Dang It a Dang. Courtney Cox's hair, a new podcast and a podcast. I love it. I went full
You
circle on
love
these.
it?
I
Can we?
hated it at first, but by the end, I was like, I fucking love. I miss the 90s.
I wish I thought to introduce this at the beginning, but can we do a thing where we rank Courtney Cox's hairstyles in the
well, that's
Scream
it.
movies?
That's
Yeah.
what bang it
I mean, I don't want to
rate
rank a woman's appearance, but I feel like she's also self-awarely commented on it.
Oh yeah.
At
We're
this
just
point.
looking
Well,
the
but
hair.
the
It's
thing-
not her. We're
Yeah,
we're
it's
ranking
just the hair.
Or just the
style.
hair. He's
It's
laughed
just-
about it
yeah.
now. You know, there's enough time. I think that's passed. But
And again, all of these styles are so unbelievably like stereotypical. for
iconic.
the
She looks
era.
like
Oh,
it,
yeah.
like if you put numbers next to them, it feels like it would. They're like options in Monster Hunter when you're creating your character. It's like, which one do you want to sit
Yeah.
atop your head?
this was from a few years ago. Her making light of it.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Jesus
I love
Christ.
them.
She got
I
great
love
sense of
those.
humor.
I love those short, like blunted bangs. They're just so a sign of the time. But I came around to it, man. I think it's better than her Norman Oswald cut from the last one with the tiger stripes.
I don't know.
Norman,
Tiger stripes are also
Norman
so
Oswald.
iconic, though.
Yeah, I think it definitely goes 1, 2, and a huge cliff to 3.
I think 2 was terrible. I thought
4,
3
there's
was, I
4.
love this
Or
haircut
we
she
got one more to rank in there as well.
Yeah, next week or
Yeah.
later this week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's your first episode of Bang to the Bang to Bang to Bang Boogie Woogie. Joey, can we see if we can get that on Twitter, please?
Yes, I will work on that podcast.
We're
on
gonna
the
need this.
podcast.
I
And
feel like
while
we're
she does that, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Fall is always busy, but one thing that you can cut from your list is going to the grocery store thanks to HelloFresh. HelloFresh has huge variety with 50 menu and market items to choose from every single week. They've got vegetarian meals for people like Paula Coelho. They've got calorie smart meals for people like, well, should be me, and even extra special gourmet options for people like Kevin Coelho. There's something for everyone to enjoy with recipes designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. Plus, the fall harvest is officially on with HelloFresh. They're rolling out seasonal recipes like pumpkin cinnamon rolls and Friendsgiving ready sides. Gia's been making a whole bunch of stuff. There was the sausage penne. Oh my God. It was great. So fantastic. You can go to HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's up to 14 free meals, including free shipping at HelloFresh.com/morning14 with code morning14. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And also shout out to Me Undies. It's fall, y'all. Replace that hydration station with pumpkin spice lattes and go out of your way to step on crunchy leaves because the coziest time of year has arrived. And I love being cozy with my Me Undies. I always am talking about. I'm wearing the Me Undies shirt right now. Of course, I got the lounge pants. Of course, I got the socks. And would it be Me Undies without the undies themselves? No, it would not. They are the softest undies I've ever worn. I refuse to wear any other undies at this point. That's been the case for years, and it's never gonna change. I simply love my Me Undies. You are not gonna be able to stop lounging. There's so many different options. You've been warned. Here is your warning, everybody. They're available in sizes extra small through 4XL in a variety of classic colors, iconic prints. Me Undies has your back and your butt all fall long. Me Undies is offering 15% off and free shipping for first-time purchasers. And if you're not satisfied with any product for any reason, they'll refund or exchange it. No caveats, no questions. To get 15% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning. MeUndies.com/morning. Back to the plot.
I love looking, by the way, I want everyone to know. Usually when I do these character synopses or the movie synopses, it's usually about 1 to like anywhere between like 6 to 7 pages. I love seeing what page we land on before Tim has to get to the ad read. That usually tells me how much people loved this movie. Catching up to Gail Weathers. By the way, we're on page 1. Catching up to Gail Weathers, who's given a lecture on how to be literally and metaphorically cutthroat when she receives a message from McDreamy PD. That's right. Loverboy himself. Can't buy me love. Outside. And he catches Gail up on the fact that Cotton and his girlfriend have been murdered, and that the killer left a picture of one Sidney Prescott's mom when she was younger, who was Maureen Prescott. I should have just written that down. Everyone knows who she is by now. Sidney watches as the news breaks on TV and realizes it's all happening again. And then, only one time in this movie, and this is why this movie is going to rank super low on my list, we get one iteration of Red Right Hand, and it plays right now as we head over to the studio where they are filming Stab 3. Did I miss Stab 2? Was Stab 2 in it? And that was just not a thing, right?
I don't think so.
But yeah, I mean, they didn't really reference it. I think this is just, them kind of like playing with the time. Because a key thing to keep in mind here, Scream 1 was 96, Scream 2, 97. This was 2000 in real time. So you got to imagine there was time passing in their world as well.
But I love that, right? I love that we're in the third iteration. They just skipped the third iteration. They're like, yeah, the second one happened.
And the fourth one gets even more ridiculous with that, which I love too. But
no future spoilers, but I can't wait.
Love to have been a fly on the wall for every character reveal in this movie to see Joey's reaction. Like Joey, when you saw Patrick Dempsey, like, did you like your popcorn like fly everywhere?
The notes that I wrote down, it says I literally gasped when Patrick Dempsey appeared on screen. Like I think it was Patrick Dempsey and Carrie Fisher that got the audible like, and then Parker Posey just had me like losing my mind.
We're right. We're very simpatico on this one, Joe. The producers of the movie are having a very interesting discussion as to whether or not they should shut the film down. And they're like, no, we can't shut the film down. And then one of them's like, why don't we ask the police? And he goes, hey, do you think these things are related? And he goes, he was making a movie called Stab. He was stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
This is funny. I don't know. That actor's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's always a dick in everything he's in.
Yeah. He's like Ben Stillator, is what I would call
like a sharper Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller vibes.
Mm-hmm. Then we meet the new cast of the movie Stab 3, which includes Jenny McCarthy, who was playing Casey, right? Was she supposed to be playing Casey's character?
Yes.
Because this was a recreation of... This is what confused me. Because this is Stu's house, right?
It's Sydney's house.
It's Sydney's house.
But
they're repurposing the interior with the exterior.
Because this is what was tripping, man. Because she walks onto the set. She sees the boat, and she sees a garage that has beer bottles broken in it, which is where Casey died, and she fell onto the boat. I think this is Stu's house, but that was
it's because it's Stab 3 Return to Woodsboro.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't know if it's just like it created its own like fictional kind of narrative, like it created a new story. And
it's unclear what in the Stab franchise where the climax of that film took place.
That's fair. So you think presumably they rewrote it, they took some artistic liberties.
I don't even know
and
if
they put it in Sydney's house.
Or they created a new original story where they brought them back to Woodsboro. Was my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong.
Because they have the Gale character. They've got the characters here. We have Jenny McCarthy, of course. Love Jenny McCarthy. Icon of the early aughts. Emily Mortimer is in this movie, who is in a ton of stuff now. Great actor. She's playing Sydney. Parker Posey, of course, we'll meet in a second, playing Gale. And then Dion Richmond, who I freaking love because he was... Anyone?
Is he Randy, right? In this movie?
Well, he plays Ricky in this, the new Randy.
He's Ricky, and they make fun of him.
Back in the day, he was Bud on The Cosby Show. He played Kenny on The Cosby Show. And I love that because it's an ongoing joke in Psych. Everyone always calls... they always call oh damn, now I'm blank on his name, that character's actor's name. Anyway, it's an ongoing joke in Psych. Anyway, they joke about how Tori Spelling and David Schwimmer didn't want to come back. Gail arrives on set and starts secretly filming. She is immediately met by her doppelganger, Parker Posey, who has the character down pat thanks to the film's technical advisor, Officer Dewey. Gail meets the other Dewey, who is way more handsome, and then laughs as he gets escorted, as Gail gets escorted off stage and bumps right into Jay and Silent Bob.
What the hell?
What
Like
is this
the
movie?
last like three
Yeah.
sentences you just said are so funny. I love that this is the direction they took the movie. That's like, we're gonna legit cast you characters, you people, you real people as characters in this movie. We're going all in, and it's about to be fun as hell. And oh, here's Jay and Silent Bob.
I want to say, I disrespected the psychos out there. Dule Hill. I don't know why I
Psychos.
couldn't pick Dule Hill's
Oh,
name out of my
That's
brain.
him?
Of course, plays Gus. No, it's not him. They always joke about how people mistake
Oh,
Dule
okay. 'cause
Hill
I was
for
like,
having played Bud on The Cosby Show. It's a little in joke
okay,
that
because
happens.
Julia
there.
Hill is West Wing, right?
Yes, he's West Wing.
Okay, because I was like, that's not the same person.
No,
Anyways.
not at all. Not at all. I digress. Gail meets, let's see, Sydney hangs out with her dad, who's in this for a second.
He's back.
And you're like,
He's
oh,
back.
the dad's going to be in this. That makes sense.
Mhm.
One scene this poor guy
Does she
gets.
live with her dad or is he just visiting? Because I also feel like if I were Sydney, I would not want to live by myself.
Yeah, he came with groceries, right? Isn't he
Yeah,
like
I
he
think he's
brought
visiting.
stuff? So I feel, and he also is basically telling her that she's going crazy
She's a
alone now,
recluse.
Yeah.
right? Like, so I assume he just came out to stop by for
I'm
a
with
quick
Joey. I wouldn't want to be by myself.
He says, listen, man, your mom had some secrets, and that's just how it goes. And her dad wants her to come home. He's worried about her living out in the sticks. And she retorts, psychos can't kill what they can't find. And he's like, you have an alarm system you bought at Home Depot, and I'm not even
Yeah,
sure it's
yeah.
hooked up correctly.
I hopped over the gate to get here, so
Yeah.
like, I didn't call ahead.
That night, Sydney has a comically weird dream about her mom being a vampire or something.
This is why this movie is just in a different thing altogether. Could you imagine there being a dream murder sequence in the first? Like, no way would there be
No.
a dream murder sequence in the first movie. It breaks so many rules to be like, we're going to show the audience what her dreams are, and that's what's going to be the scary point for this movie. It's just not fair because it has nothing. You'd have to tell the killer after the fact. Your timing was great because right before you spun all this up, I had a nightmare about my mom being a vampire. like it's just such cheating that I love that they knew they were cheating. They're like, we don't care. Who cares? It's 15 minutes. We needed to do a scare.
Jenny McCarthy arrives at the Stab 3 production offices and no one's there. Tyson scares the shit out of her with his makeup test and then leaves her to find Roman, who wanted to meet her there to do a script read through or something like that. But we're kind of getting that. We're like, man, I don't know, maybe it was the killer. Because remember, he's got super advanced technology where he can synthesize anyone's voice perfectly. She then gets a call from Roman who tells her he's 10 minutes away, stuck in traffic. She's unhappy with all of her lines and all that stuff. He's like, well, let's just read through the script, and completely dismisses her. She reads the scene where the character answers the phone, but Roman goes off script. It's not just a new script. It's a new movie, my movie. And it's called Sarah Gets Scared Like a Pig. Yeah. And she's like, oh no, I'm going to die. She hangs up and runs towards the front door, but a shadow coming in scares her. So she goes and hides in wardrobe where there are literally 1,000 Ghostface costumes.
I love this whole scene because like it goes back to it's not scary at all, but I think it's very well designed to be interesting and engaging. Like I was stoked to see what was going to go down. Her going into that room with all the ghost faces, it's like, well, this is a bad place for you to be. Like it reminds me a lot of the Halloween episode of Boy Meets World, where it's like, yeah, no element of this is scary, but it all just feels right.
So good.
Yeah. I think the thing that I wrote down about this scene is like the way that the franchise manages to like put these characters in scenes where there's so many ghost faces is always kind of impressive. First we have the movie theater, we have this, and it like they all kind of make sense. They're not like really egregious, but they're like, how do we get these how do we get them so off kilter with it? And like, yeah, with all of like the fake weapons and stuff like that, I think it's really fun.
She calls the studio helpline for some reason as one of the costumes behind her pushes her into the prop department where she tries to fight him off with a plastic knife and hilarity ensues. And then Ghostface just cramps her through a glass and one of the doors and then stabs her to death and leaves her body draped over the door. Gail and Dewey have lunch and talk about how things just didn't work out between the two of them. Off the record, 2 months ago, the Woodsboro police got a call from a woman asking for Sid's file, but the cop said no. So the police, the department was broken into, but thankfully Dewey thought ahead and already removed her file. Dewey gets a page from Jennifer and Jets, and then Gail's like, I'm on this case because I work for the police. So she tails him up to the Hollywood Hills, I assume, where Parker Parker Posey is overwhelmed that Jenny McCarthy died. The killer is killing the characters in the order in which they die in Stab 3. And guess whose character is next? Big old Gale. Also, Putty from Seinfeld is in this movie, and it's weird, and I love it. Dewey tells Stone to inspect the grounds, and Putty tells him to go pound sand since everyone he tried to protect kind of died, and that's kind of he raises a good point there. He's like, I've protected Julia Roberts and Meryl Streep, and everyone you've protected has died. And he's like, touche.
We,
We'll agree to
if we get an
disagree.
opportunity for more meta movies within movies in the Scream franchise, I want a Bodyguard reboot with Parker Posey and Patrick Warburton.
Wow.
I don't know how we fit
into
this
his
in.
arms.
Yeah. I would take that. McDreamy and his partner wonder if the killer is going to come after the cops, and Gail asks if they have any leads. Dewey tells them they should put more guards on Jennifer since she's next in the script, but McDreamy says there are 3 different versions of the script to keep things from leaking, so we don't know who's actually going to be next. They arrest Roman because he was last to speak with Sarah and his phone and all that stuff, and McDreamy borrows Dewey's cell phone for some reason, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a huge plot point, and it never comes back, which is weird.
Yeah, this was a funny thing that is such a moment in time of like where we're at now with technology of like what a cell phone means is so different then. Like, can you imagine like a cop nowadays being like, oh, can I borrow your cell phone? No,
Absolutely
you cannot. But back then it's like, what's you gonna do? Call somebody?
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
That's a good point. Let's see. Sydney gets a call on the crisis line from a woman who said she killed someone, and then she realized that the call was actually coming through her on her home line and has skipped the crisis line altogether. And she's like, "Oh no!" And the killer tells her to turn on the news. Do you think it's over, Sydney? Do you? She pulls out a revolver and starts shooting wildly into the night like Joe Pesci when he comes out of the cabin of My Cousin Vinny. That didn't actually happen, but in my brain I was like, that would have been a great little deleted scene.
Yeah.
And you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. No. But it was a part in My Cousin Vinny that fucking made me laugh out loud in the theater when I was a kid. Look it up. Dewey heads back to Jennifer's house where Tom is tearing up pages of the script and being a dick to Emily Mortimer. Angelina is her character's name. Gail shows up and spies on Dewey and Jennifer as they talk about Gail having a good heart, but also being kind of cruel and selfish. Then Stone finds her and brings her inside and tells them that the police released Roman. The call to Sarah's phone came from a clone phone, so they can't leak it to him at all. Then she tells Dewey that Maureen Prescott vanished from Woodsboro for a few years, and Dewey recognizes one of the backgrounds in one of the pictures from Maureen as the backlot in Sunrise Studios, and like dun dun dun, she used to be an actor, and apparently there's a mark at Sunrise Studios where every new actor has to stand
that's
on
a photo spot. Yeah, it's
so
like
they
Disneyland.
can take the exact same picture.
Yeah.
Just in case.
The retconning of the first glimpse of retconning of like, oh yeah, I'm sure that in the first movie when they talk about Sydney's mom, the whole point where she just vanished for 2 years never would have come up. But sure, we're gonna go with this.
But to be fair, this movie fully acknowledges that.
Yep.
And
which
I
is
respect it.
why it's so great.
Yeah. Dewey calls Stone, who is creepily searching Dewey's trailer, but it's not Dewey, it's the killer. And then the killer just... This movie has...
Stone originally was written and was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Awesome.
Wow.
I would have done that.
Wow. I don't know if that would be better or worse.
It would have been entertaining, though.
Patrick Warburton in this role is just like so wild. He's like, hey, we got a killer coming.
His voice is so good.
But it's like it doesn't fit within the world. And also Patrick Warburton's he gets typecast obviously, but he's a pretty good actor. Like they could have had him just be like a bodyguard, but they're like, no, do Putty.
Call him Dewdrop.
Dewdrop. We're gonna get this killer. We skipped over the part though where Parker Posey is overwhelmed with the drama of it all, and then just gets picked up into his arms, right?
Mentioned it with the bodyguard.
Yeah, I got mixed up in where I heard Patrick, and I thought we had gotten to that part. Clearly, we hadn't. But yeah,
I think we did because he dies now.
Yeah. Now this movie, like, listen, I get it. Horror movies play with your expectation, and they do that. One of the tools with which they do that is by the camera angle and the edit and a character jumping out from a closet or something. But fuck, this trailer is 6 feet long, and this killer jumps out from the back of the trailer where you're like, it would have totally known that guy was back there. It doesn't matter. I love it. This character. This is the part of the franchise where I'm like, they did not even try to make this character like
Believable.
make it plausible that this
It's
character,
fodder.
the killer,
It's
could
fodder.
be in these
It's
places.
body fodder, is what.
Yeah,
it
and
is.
it's like,
who cares?
thank God they shut down production, because I don't know how he would have had time with like directing and looking at dailies and being in the edit bay
Oh, yeah.
terrorize
Yeah,
a bunch of people. But yeah,
Well, Elise, as a person who's directed a lot of really bad internet videos, I can tell you, you just don't pay attention to stuff. And
Oh,
shit
you
just
just let
sorts
it go
itself
through.
out. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, actually, I go by the rule of
Help out.
thumb: the less I'm there, the better the production is. Right, Tim?
it's better than the final product.
Yeah, exactly. Debatable. Of course, he gets stabbed. Back in the main house, everyone watches as Stone stumbles in and dies on the stoop, and he's like trying to point at Dewey. And I was like, "Don't fucking do that!" And then
Don't do that, bro. Also,
messed up.
like this death is one of the most ridiculous deaths we've had in this franchise so far, where it's like it is so over the top, like him being alive and in his dying emotions, being able to just stand there and like point. It's like, I don't know. This was the bad type of camp for me, where I was like, I didn't like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody cuts the power, and everyone starts to freak out. And this scene is terrible. I can't explain how terrible this scene is. They run outside, and then a fax starts, and they're like, "Let's all run back inside." It's like an episode of Scooby Doo. It's so
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
This
it's such a good
feels
point.
like, for somebody who's never seen Scary Movie, where like the line between Scream and Scary Movie kind of blur
yes.
a little bit.
Yep.
I love that
Uh,
it's a time capsule, though, a fax machine. We should be so lucky that this would be one of one of the key moments in this.
Elise, can I ask you a question?
Have I used a fax machine? Yes.
Yes. Do you know how fax machines work?
Well, it would need to be. We need to have power.
Oh, that's a huge point. I didn't think about that.
Yes, I mean, yes, I definitely entered, the working world at an age where I did have to use a fax machine. Still,
Now, Joey, you're probably a bit too young to ever have dealt with a fax. I'm sure you saw one.
I
but
worked,
in the
I
corner,
worked in an office where we had to fax stuff.
You fax some stuff occasionally.
I'm gonna be
Do you
completely
think
honest.
everyone is?
I could not begin to explain to you what a fax machine looked like.
Okay,
Like,
so a facsimile machine, or a fax machine as they call it, was you put a piece of paper. It's a scanner that then would dial over the phone line another fax machine and then print that out on their end. So when you sign stuff, you would fax it over, and then it would print out a signed copy of it.
And if the
Now,
other
again-
fax machine isn't on, it can't receive the fax message.
Here's my point to this long diatribe that I'm sure
Is
people
it
are rolling their eyes
actually a
with.
facsimile machine? Is that what fax is short for?
I could be wrong, but
It's
Kevin,
like
you
in
look
the
up.
fax here, Nick.
Here's what I'm gonna say, though.
Facsimile.
You
Yeah.
need not one, but two fax machines in
Mhm.
order to make a fax machine right. Where was the killer faxing the other pages from? Is there another fax machine in the house?
I
Why
love
would you
this.
need two fax machines in the house? Was he
You
in
couldn't
Dewey's
even- but you
trailer
couldn't
just
even do that.
faxing? What's that?
They'd have
You
to
need
have
two different
separate
phone
phone
lines.
numbers.
Different phone lines, yeah.
Exactly. So what, did they run to the neighbor's
Well-
house and he's faxing these things in?
Was this at a time when you could do text to fax?
I don't think so.
I know we have that technology now.
Oh God, I love this movie. I love that I don't care about the stuff. I love that none of
Yeah.
this shit matters because, of course, the joke is, or the gag here is that they're faxing pages of a script that's just saying what's going on right there, and then everyone goes, "We got to get out of this house." They run back out of the house. And then Tom's like, "I gotta know how this ends," and he reads it. He says, "The killer will give mercy too," and he's like, "Oh, I can't see this because." At least pointed out there's no power. Even though I guess that perhaps this was one of those rare battery-powered fax machines that they used to use. He lights a lighter and it says, "The killer will give mercy to whomever smells the gas." And he's like, "No!" And then the whole house just
But
explodes.
the best thing is this shot is he blows up like Dr. Manhattan. Like it starts at his abdomen and he explodes into 1,000 particles, and then from that the house, and I just like, that's not how any of that works at all. Like
And then
This kicked it up a notch. Like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
scene, like this to me, it was horrible. But
Mhm.
like the explosion brought it back to the right type of horrible. Well, from here on out, I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
we are in for this shit.
And then everyone, as if they were all standing on the precipice of a very steep hill, start tumbling down the mountain. And they land on the street below. And I'll tell you, if I had $1 for every time I liked a movie where someone had to run down the Hollywood Hills to another street or whatever like that, I can think of all of them, right? Joey, you've got your La La Lands, right? You've got your Nice Guys, right, where they have the fights down the Hollywood Hills.
2 Days in the Valley.
2 Days in the Valley,
Princess
perfect
Bride.
example. Perfect.
Princess
Which I actually
Benefits.
need to go back and watch again. Anyway, the whole house blows up. They all tumble down the hill. Gale almost gets attacked by Ghostface, but Dewey shoots him 3 times in the chest and he escapes. At this point, I'd be like, okay. So I shot him in the chest. I saw that I shot him in the chest. He's clearly wearing a bulletproof vest. So maybe I'm not going to shoot him in the chest. I'm just going to throw that out there. But Dewey is a dumb shit. Jennifer punches Dewey. Let's see. He runs away. They find another picture of Maureen Prescott, and on the back of it, it says, "I killed her." And then Gale and other Gale get into it because Gale punches Dewey, and then Dewey punches her or whatever. And then Angelina stumbles from the forest, all weird and shit. And everyone's like, "Did you do this? Are you the killer?" And it's strange. And this is where we get that great line, right, where Jennifer punches Dewey in the face, and then Gale punches Jennifer in the face, and then Jennifer goes down, and then she goes, "My lawyer just loved that."
Oh.
Mhm.
So good.
It's
Joey's
all
camera went out
cheese.
again.
It's all
I
cheese.
know my camera is
That
overheating.
line was
and
so
it's having an
good, it
issue.
made Joey's camera go dark.
My
McDreamy
camera's
wants to
also
talk.
very impressed by Parker Posey. I'm
Fair
gonna let
enough.
this chill for a second. And I'll turn
Parker
back on.
Posey, let's go around the table right now.
Okay.
Did she ever get her due? Elise, let's start with
Absolutely
you.
not.
No, she hasn't gotten her due. Obviously Christopher Guest recognized the genius of Parker Posey and utilizes her and lifts her up in every production he does. Parker Posey, though, has not gotten the universal acclaim she deserves.
Well, but you say that about Martin Short as well. So if we're comparing Parker Posey to Martin Short, I would say both of them have gotten
I have a lot of heroes.
a lot to do.
Joey was free. I know Joey's camera went down because she was overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
But
true.
Parker Posey.
Here's the thing, everybody. We are in the time of the Renaissance. Like Catherine Hahn has now gotten her due. Now
Mm-hmm.
we need to rally behind Parker Posey and Judy Greer.
Agreed.
That's our
Mm.
collective jobs right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also going to say as we go off on this tangent, Catherine O'Hara needs more acclaim. Just
I
throwing that
agree.
out there. More acclaim. We don't talk about her enough.
Did she win
McDreamy wants
every
to,
Emmy last year.
yeah, for Schitt's
Oh,
Creek. You
yeah.
know what? Good. Give her an
Okay.
Emmy
More.
for fucking.
That's a
Can
start.
we give her an
That's a
Emmy for
start.
Beetlejuice? Could she get a
Wait, just get-
posthumous
all right,
Emmy?
so we're throwing back
Exactly.
Emmys. All right,
My
good,
Give
good.
her
brain
an
is
Emmy.
broken.
I mean,
An Emmy for Beetlejuice.
Mhm.
Is
We're
that how it
getting-
works? Elise?
The animated series, obviously.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim.
My brain is
Yeah.
broken because I thought you said Scarlett O'Hara, and I was like, are we talking about going back to Gone with the Wind?
No,
Yeah.
no. I
Did
don't
not get her due either.
Gone with the Wind doesn't get enough credit.
Come
No.
on, guys.
He gets enough credit. McDreamy wants to talk to Sydney, and he wants Dewey to connect them. He gives Dewey an ultimatum, but Sydney beats him to the pass. She shows right up at the police station and gives Dewey a great big old hug. And he's like, "I told you to stay away, Sid." She's like, "How am I going to stay away when my friends are dying and I can do something about it? And I'm the best character in this whole movie, despite the fact that I'm kind of boring." And Tim doesn't think so.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. Like I said, I don't need to go over too many more times. I don't like her, period.
Mhm.
But they earned my trust with this. Like, this is the moment where they get together, and I'm like, I guess I'm invested. I guess I care about the characters that I don't even like in these movies because they made me. They are now together, and I do not want them to die. Protect them at all costs.
Now, the one good thing here, I like this next scene because Sydney sees Gail and she gives her a hug. And then she says, "I'm glad you're okay." And I like that they're like we're not going to have an antagonistic relationship between these
It's
two.
the-
Because
they're
all
they're
good
done that
buddies
twice.
now.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're
It's
buddies.
Luke, Han, and Leia.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. At this point, I mean, this is a perfect. If you're gonna say like this is as good as the original trilogy, a case could be made.
Case can be made.
Gail asks how the killer could have gotten Sid's number, but only Dewey had it, and the only two other people to borrow his phone were Sarah and Detective Kincaid. And we're like, oh my god! And I don't think we ever get a resolution to this. Sydney wants to see the place in her mother's picture, so they head to Sunrise Backlot. Martha, Randy's sister, pops out of a fucking porta potty with a VHS tape for everyone to see, and it's a message from Randy from the grave. Here we are
I let
again.
out an actual like guttural reaction to this. Like, this was like a legit get hype. Holy fuck, they're doing this, and it's great. I was reading some facts about this. Apparently, they shot 3 hours of footage of him talking to this camera.
Oh my
And
gosh, I would kill for that.
They didn't know what storyline they were gonna go with, so we got what we got, which I freaking loved. I thought it was
They-
really cool. This is creative.
they used the jaws of life of exposition to wedge this woman into this movie, which I loved. It's Gail and Sydney. Yeah, it's Randy's sister, Martha. It's like
Randy's sister Martha. Is that you?
It's great.
I love it. By the way, it could have. Yeah, you had to have it. Randy, of course, is here. The reason I'm here is to help you so that my death will not be in vain. Here's the critical thing. You're dealing with we're not dealing with the sequel, he says. Different rules now. Why? Because you're dealing with the concluding chapter of a trilogy. So the rules of the sequel no longer apply. True trilogies are all about going back to the beginning. So here are the rules. Number 1, the killer will be superhuman. Number 2, anyone can die. All bets are off. Even you, Sydney, you can die. And number 3, the past will come back to bite you in the ass. Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it.
Great rules.
Great.
But can I just? Are those actually the rules of the third movie of a trilogy? Like, I couldn't think of a movie that this applied to other than Scream 3.
James, let me explain something to you right
Okay.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
We've already said, and I think we've all agreed, that the Scream trilogy every bit as good, if not better, than the original Star Wars trilogy.
Fair. Okay.
Right.
We have said it has been said.
Let's take a look at how these rules apply to 1, Return of the Jedi. The killer will be superhuman. Shoots lightning out of his hands. Force chokes.
But the first one also had that.
Okay, perfect. You're making my point.
And the second one.
Stronger by the third one. Then.
Number 2, anyone could die. Did we see Obi-Wan dying in the first one? Did we think Vader was going to die in this one? What about all those Ewoks that were just little? They look like
they
little
all
brown
survived
meat.
though. Luke, Han, and Leia. Everyone gets out. Lando. They're all
Number
fine.
That one Ewok, remember he walks over and he shakes him and he's like, "Hey bud, wake up. Wake up." And he doesn't
unnamed Ewok.
He doesn't blink. That one's not blinking no matter how many special effects you add.
Oh man, we've pissed off so many Star Wars.
At least
fans.
one from Funhouse.
I have a question for the room. Do you think that what's the actor's name that plays Randy? Jamie Kennedy. Do you think that Jamie Kennedy still had the same facial hair and hair from Scream 2 because he needed to have it in that tape, or do you think that was all makeup?
Yeah, it was like the guy from Lost. He just had to maintain the look.
I saw Jamie Kennedy at Punchline about 2 years ago. He came up to do it. Had the same stuff, same facial hair. I think he
I rest my case.
That's just like a look he committed to.
Yeah, he was just like, I was super popular in the 90s, and I'm just gonna stick with it. Stick with what works. By the way, I did see him at Punchline. He did not have that. He had a great haircut. Randy wishes them all luck, and he says, "And for some of you, see you soon."
See you soon.
Just ominous. Gail runs off.
Though.
What's that? No, he does not.
Doesn't. Could you imagine, like, ominously, like, leaving your will and testament in some way? And go, it didn't happen.
That's fair. Gail gets a good idea. She's like, I'm gonna go check central casting, and she runs off to follow that hunch. But who should she run right into? Of course, Jennifer, who tells her she's gonna stick by her side. She's like, listen, if the killer's one that wants to kill the real Gail, I'm not the real Gail, but I figure if they try to kill me and you're there, they'll kill you instead. And actually, that logic kind of works. They head down to the studio vault where they find Carrie Fisher, which is amazing. Again, who else from Jane Silent Bob we're gonna find? We're gonna find what's this guy, the security guard that's like, all right, oh, what a lovely day. Yeah, Dietrich Bader. Dietrich
Bader.
Dietrich Bader.
Carrie Fisher just doing a bang up job here, just hamming it up downstairs, pretending she's not really Carrie Fisher. I think she's smoking a cigarette in this too, which I just always thought was such a Carrie Fisher thing to do. They bribe her for information on Maureen's mom's stage name. She's like, well, that's not Maureen Prescott. That's Rena Reynolds. I know her. She was in 3 bad movies, all produced by Lance Hendricks' character, John Milton, the same guy producing Stab 3. And the plot thickens. Sid spots a pair of boots in the bathroom and busts through the stall door only to find...
thickens, aka the plot gets so convoluted. This is so deep. So many people are involved in this fucking thing at this point. God bless.
That's how murders happen.
Is his name John Milton? Is that supposed to be a Paradise Lost reference?
Is it?
John Milton? John Milton's Paradise Lost, right?
Yeah, Google that. I don't know. For some reason this didn't ring a bell for me at all, but You guys are smarter than I am. I spent most of my formative years just rewatching RoboCop over and over again just to get the nuance of it, Tim.
God, I mean, John Milton was Paradise Lost, and Stab producer is John Milton. Can you imagine if the audacity to be writing Scream 3 and putting a Paradise Lost reference into it? Wow.
Wow.
I mean, define high art. I define it as
Scream 3.
This right here, what we're doing.
Yeah.
This scene's really, really weird because, and this is no offense to anyone sitting here, but if I'm in the bathroom stall with one of you and I look down and I see your boot go up onto the toilet and I burst in and you have a Scream mask and people have been killing me with Scream masks and the boots, I would at least ask, why are you perched on the toilet like you're going to shit on the handle?
Filthy seat.
Very
it's a filthy
specific.
seat.
Better for your colon.
Yeah. If you don't have a squatty potty handy, you can always perch on the toilet.
And this was pre-squatty potty invention.
Exactly.
Man, I'm gonna stop saying anything. there's no way any questions I have that I actually want the answers to. So let's just move on.
This character's backstory is also great because she won a contest to be in the movie, which is like,
well,
is that ever been a thing?
And like how much she's trying to steal this shit. Like she's unabashed, doesn't give a fuck. It's like, do you know what's going on right now?
Yeah,
but whatever.
I mean, Tim, this is why we should be thank our lucky stars. We don't have to hobnob with any of these LA types, right? They're always just thinking about themselves, right?
They're always perching on bowls.
Oh, perching on bowls, stealing merch after getting blown clear of a house fire or whatever.
It seems reasonable. If any of this shit happened to me, I'll be in Palm Springs. Fucking catch me if you can. I'm gonna sit in the middle of a pool. No one's gonna kill me there. I'll kill myself with a margarita. She leaves her brush behind, so Sydney runs after her to give it to her, only to find herself in the middle of, I suppose, an amalgamation of all the sets from Scream 1, but the outside looks like Stu's house. And I love this because she walks around, and the way this is lit and the way it's shot is so eerily weird.
Yeah, so a fact I was reading here is that Wes Craven knew that they wanted to go back to the original place and have some of the locations. They didn't have any of the sets still. They were all destroyed. So they just made a bunch of the sets from like things from the first movie. They didn't know exactly how it was all going to come into play, but this shot here of her walking through was something that wasn't part of the script. And they just had it, and he's like, this ties it all together. Like, we don't need to explain anything else because it's just, people are going to get it. They're going to get what we're going for. And I think he was right.
I mean, I agree. I think it worked. It's a bit confusing if you watch these movies back to back because she heads upstairs and finds her room, which is the same room that we saw from the first one where Billy climbed through the window and she's like, how would you settle for a PG-13 relationship? And she even hears her words echoed as in like a weird flashbacky moment to talk about James' point earlier. Where like, there's just a lot of devices they're using in this movie that they probably shouldn't use, like flashbacks and voiceover and things like that. But what the fuck? Because we're about to get to a point where she gets chased through a door that goes nowhere, and it's fucking crazy looking, and I love it. And we'll get to that right now. One of the doors closes behind her, and at this point, I'm like, this is not good. But she takes out some mace, and good for you. You actually brought something you can defend yourself. Then another ghost face chases her upstairs. She gets chased out and pulled through the downstairs window. Excuse me. She gets pulled down through into craft services. So this thing like pulls her through and she stumbles down and falls in. Then she runs back upstairs and then runs through the door that leads to nowhere. But she tricks tricks Ghostface into falling out of the bed below her. And then she hears her mom's voice calling her back into her parents' bedroom. And when she gets back in there, she sees a bloody reenactment of her mother's death, complete with a 1920s ghost, just a sheet over a face, which comes to life. And it's very, very weird. And then she falls through the window again. This time Dewey and the cops finally show up, but the killer are gone already, or the killers is gone already, and Detective Wallace grills Angeline on the whole stealing the mask thing, and then lets her go because he's like, it's fine.
Well,
a lot of people
they also are like she's like, he's in there, and they're like, Sid, listen, you're clearly crazy and reacting to trauma of seeing this murder scene in a house that was Stu's, maybe. Like, you know, there's no way there's a killer there. It's like,
yeah,
dude, there's bodies everywhere, and we've been talking nonstop about how a killer is pursuing me. Why is this absurd?
We should take this serious.
It's not like it's the first act where it's nobody knows what's happening. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna hand wave now in the story.
Yeah, but they proceed to gaslight her pretty hard.
Like all of that, and then not to jump ahead too much, but like they end up in a giant party scene. It's like,
yeah. A birthday. They
Sid,
go
come
birthday.
on. What are you doing to yourself?
Yeah.
McDreamy takes Sid back to the station while Gale shows Dewey a headshot of Rita Reynolds and tells him about John Milton. Dewey and Gale barge in on Roman complaining to John Milton that this movie's going down the toilet. They also set up the fact there's a birthday party going to happen in the third act, and they question Milton about Rita Reynolds. He tries to write it off like she was just a bit player, but Gale grills him for the truth, and he finally comes clean. Rena went to one of Milton's famous parties, and she was assaulted by his creepy-ass friends, which changed her forever, and that's why she went back to Woodsboro. Sydney and McDreamy get to know each other a little bit, and this relationship is completely unprofessional. But she says to him, Hollywood is about death. He's haunted by the violence he's seen. He knows what it's like to see ghosts that don't go away.
Scene is
I don't think you do, bro.
so funny to me. Like they're trying so hard to convince you that it's the cop, he's the bad guy, and they are so heavy-handed with it. And God bless Patrick Dempsey, you know?
I also feel like they're trying to have some chemistry between them and I'm like,
it didn't work.
This is not happening.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And this is no disrespect to Nev Campbell or Patrick Dempsey, but it was just, it wasn't written the way it should be written for them to be like, because I do think you could have these two characters who are in this stressful situation, like fall for each other.
Drama bonding.
If you want to see a perfect example of that, just rewatch Speed over and over and over again, and just have it crammed into your face.
Oh, so good.
Have you shown Like Mike Speed yet?
No.
I've been championing this, Elise.
It's too modern of a film.
But if he
we'll get there
hasn't seen
eventually,
it, right? Yeah.
No,
What about The Rock? Anyway,
Too modern.
He hasn't seen that either.
Speed is too modern.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, it was like mid-90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We do 80s action. We have to start with the 80s, Joey. We have to build a foundation for his movie-loving experience. Otherwise, we jump to Speed, and then you go back to Lethal Weapon, and it's going to be like, why are you showing me this? This is slow by comparison. Where's the bus? Where's Sandy Bullock? Where's the Bobcat?
God, he's so right. I want him to be wrong, but he's right, Joey.
Isn't it Wildcat? Hold on, isn't it Wildcat?
Was it Wildcat? I thought it was.
Who's that Wildcat behind the wheel?
That's right. He's like, Wildcat? Oh, whoa. He's got a camera.
Look at your shirt, bro.
Tim, you love it.
Tim's I fucking love it, dude. I'm Googling. I've never seen Speed. I can't wait.
What?
Oh my God.
This is tragic.
We just need a Speed 3 so we can do Speed and review.
Oh, Tim, you're going to love Speed.
Can we just watch Speed 1?
There's 2 Speeds.
I know, but can we just watch Speed 1?
You sure can, Joe. Come on over. I'll get some popcorn for us.
Perfect.
Let's see. They have a little conversation here where like when Sydney's guard is down, Kincaid asks her what he's like, listen, you gotta tell me what you really know about your mom. She goes, listen, I don't know who my mom was, it turns out. And he goes, you knew who she was to you. And then Kincaid tells her he believes her about being attacked on set. And she's like, yeah, a fucking doy. And then because he knows how to deal with, he's like, listen, that's good news that this guy was there. She goes, why? And he goes, well, because he was a real criminal and I know how to deal with real criminals. And she says, how? And he goes, catch him or kill him.
Nice.
And then like walks out all cool with his sexy hair, and she's like, "You know what, McDreamy? Maybe I will have some popcorn with you at the end of this movie, even though you look like a fucking dork in that scene for some reason in a t-shirt." We'll get there. Let's see. Oh, and then she goes, "Hey, what's your favorite scary movie?" And he goes, "My life." And she goes, "Mine too." And I'm like, "End the scene.
End the scene.
Fucking
end it."
More.
More. Oh man, Dewey gets a call from Sid saying she's going to Roman's birthday party, and it's clearly the killer, but hey, it doesn't matter. At Milton's mansion, and they should meet her there. And then she hangs up. But when they get there, this party is super sad. Everyone decides to split up, even despite the fact that they're all being hunted one by one. They're like, let's all split up and look for Milton's creepy screening room, which has to be here somewhere. Let's look for hidden passages or something, even though it turns out there's just a door to this place. This is a super bad idea, but a great way to get killed. Roman and Jennifer head down to the basement and find a bunch of old costumes and props. Meanwhile, Gale gets the bright idea to call the number back that called Sydney. And when they do that, a cell phone in the closet rings. And when they open it up, they see a Ghostface costume and the voice modulator, which then clues them into the fact that the killer can, in fact, do anyone's voice on the planet. And I'd be like this, see if it's got a setting for Schwarzenegger. No, I'm not going to do it, Tim. Tim was waiting. He's like, is he going to do another stupid Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, I was... Please
come with me if you want to live, Tim. That's what
Great.
Great. We have fun here. Let's see. Roman and Jennifer head down to the basement to find a bunch of old costumes. I already read that. Possible. Let's see. Gale gets brought. Yeah. Anyway, Dewey and Gale split up, and to warn everyone, again, dumb, that the killer is on the loose. By the way, any one of these people could be the killer because obviously the costume was left there. I would have just called the police and left. That would have been my thing. I would have waited and been like, Sydney's not here. Let's just wait outside. Gale goes down to the basement and finds Roman stabbed to death in a casket. She and the other Gale run back up to find Dewey. Then Angelina jumps out, and they're like, listen, we got to go. And she's like, you know what? All of you people are second-rate celebrities. I'm getting the hell out of here. And then she gets stabbed to death on the stairs. We get a cool shot where Gale looks over down at the stairs, and Emily Mortimer's body just gets slowly dragged out. I'm like, that was pretty ominous and cool.
Also, kind of ironic that all of these are, or that she has that like one line that's like, I didn't sleep with whatever producer guy, right? Is this where she said? She's like
that,
running out.
I didn't sleep.
And
with
then it's like a Harvey Weinstein movie. It's
I
like,
think she says, I didn't fuck that pig Milton.
that's right.
Right.
I don't remember the rest, but
That aged very specifically.
yes.
It did, yeah. Gale catches up Dewey and Ghostface immediately. Gale catches up Dewey and Ghostface just immediately comes out of. Again, another one of these, like, can we try a little harder for the blocking?
Mm-hmm.
Two characters are standing right next to each other, and they're like, oh my God, Dewey, it's so great to see you. Gale, thank God you're alive. And 2 feet away from them, Ghostface just comes from the edge of the screen and punches him out. And you're like, God damn it, they're not trying.
It's all Wet Hot American Summer when he's driving the van singing. Tim Reno's like driving, and he just goes, ah!
And just slams it in the thing. Yeah. The funniest part of that movie. Then everyone fights, and Fake Gale gets pushed into a secret passage while Tyson gets murdered outside. She bangs on a 2-way mirror and tries to get Dewey's attention while Gale and Dewey try to figure out what the hell's causing that mirror to get banged on. So Dewey is like, I got a great idea. And then one by one shoots all 6 of the mirrors out, or however they just happen to be.
So dangerous.
Yeah.
Well,
he does aim for the top, though. So he is putting a teensy bit of thought. Like, they're probably not 8 feet tall, so I'll aim for the tops.
It's just that, guys, listen, I know you guys aren't as adept at first-person shooters as me and James are. But when you have a revolver, it's just deeply ingrained in you how many shots you have left. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I didn't even need to watch the scene. I was like, he's out of ammo. Reload, bro. You got to reload. You only have 6 shots. You can't fucking count how many mirrors there were.
There's a lot of mirrors.
Amateur
a lot
hour.
of mirrors. Also, you could shoot at the one that's banging.
Yeah, maybe that one.
They had this issue in Scream 2 where no one can hear noise on the other side of thin glass. Like, it's just impossible.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Of course, then this results in Parker Posey getting stabbed to death on the other side. Her body falls through, and they're like, oh, no.
I will say that Parker Posey's, like, the physicality of her acting as she's running around this house and she's just, like, flailing like that Kermit gif. It just brings, like, a really fun, like, she's just so good. Put Parker Posey in more things, please.
And with that too, just like with the movement in this movie, like I love that, like, every Scream movie's done a great job with this, of the Ghostface killer always being just bumbling around in weird ways that feels right because it's a dude in a mask. And I think this one, like, does it even more. And I'm like, thank you, because you just see him running around and he's just bumping into everything, and I'm like, good for you, Ghostface.
Alec Baldwin from The Departed.
Mm-hmm. I knew that was coming. I knew as soon as anybody used the word bumbling.
Done.
Real Gale gets stabbed and tumbles down the stairs with Ghostface, who gets knocked out of the bottom of it. So she calls Dewey for help, and Dewey's like, wait a minute, how do I know this is not the real you? And then Ghostface wakes up and Gale screams. So Dewey bursts in and once again tries to shoot Ghostface, but he's his chambers are all emptied from because he shot all the 2-way mirrors. And then the killer throws just a knife at him, but thankfully the butt of the knife hits him right in the head and knocks him out. Back at the station.
It's like a joke shot from the trailer. Like, if it was a comedy movie, it would be exactly that.
It's so bad. Back at the station, Sydney goes to her own file that the police have kept on her, and she gets a call on her cell from herself. But it's really the killer, and he's got Gale and Dewey, and he's like, you better do what I say. I'll make you a deal. Do you want to know who, he's like, killed your mother? Well, come here, and I'll tell you for real who killed your mother, and then maybe they'll live, but you'll die. Sydney makes up her mind. She's going to go, but before she does, she decides she's going to strap on some steel, courtesy of Detective Kincaid. And she does that really cool thing where she's like, I know where this guy keeps his gun, but it's like the top shelf. But the bottom shelf's unlocked, so she opens the bottom shelf and like reaches in and like unlocks the top shelf through it and like opens it up. I was like, that is a very 90s thing to do. I don't think that works anymore. She heads over to Milton's house, which looks like the one from Sunset Boulevard, and finds Tyson's body outside. Ghostface makes her use a metal detector on herself. I was like, that's good thinking, which spots her gun immediately, so she throws it out. into the pool. And here I'm thinking we're going to have that moment, James, where like the struggle goes into the pool and she looks down and sees the gun and it's like, oh, no, no, no. That's too cliche.
No,
That's also way too hard to shoot.
Chekhov had no play on this script.
Yeah. Sydney sees Dewey and Gale tied up and rushes in to untie them, but Ghostface pops up from behind her and knocks her to the ground. Luckily, dun dun dun, Kincaid had 2 guns and she brought a second piece of steel and she shoots Ghostface in the chest but then he disappears and everyone's like, dude, stop shooting him in the chest. This is my first time. I'm like, stop shooting him in the chest. I hope one of these characters screams the other character the head. And guess what? Maybe she does. Then Kincaid comes in and uses his calm voice, and then he gets stabbed. Sid runs into the study and finds a secret screening room. She hears her mother's voice calling to her and sees her old footage projected onto the screen. Then the ghost from Scooby-Doo comes out again and reveals and pulls off the sheet and reveals it's really Ghostface. But then it pulls off its mask and reveals it's really Roman, who was the killer the entire time.
Didn't see it coming, and like that's not necessarily a compliment to that.
It could have been anyone. It would have been the same.
Well, because we also
general
think he's
reaction.
dead because they find his body in the chest in the basement.
But it's funny though because he did call Jenny McCarthy earlier in the movie, but his defense was no, I didn't. But it's like when you think about it, hindsight, it's just like, yeah, you did.
Yeah. Of course, he reveals like, I'm wearing a bulletproof vest the entire time. You're stupid, and also I'm your half brother. That's right. Rena Reynolds was my mom.
That's why Carrie Fisher was in this. Her and Luke, brother and sister, revealed in the 3rd movie.
Smart.
No one saw it coming because it didn't matter. It's fucking weird.
Carrie said, "You have to put me in this movie.
Yeah, I gotta get in this.
I gotta get on this ground level."
I get it. And again, I hate to keep drawing these amazing parallels between the Scream franchise and Star Wars, but clearly Scream is better.
And my cousin Vinny.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna link you to that scene. You're gonna die laughing. Mm-hmm. It's a dynamite scene. Roman wanted to reconnect with his long-lost mother, but she rebuffed him and saying, quote, Rena Reynolds is dead. I got to leave all that shit in L.A. I'm back at Woodsboro now. So he found Billy and directed him to kill Maureen Prescott. He's like, I'm a director. I direct, and I got Billy to do it. So I'm like, okay, so you said you want to know who really killed your mom. It was still Billy. Mm-hmm. But you were Billy, just kind of a part of it. But still, Billy did pull the trigger on that, right? Like, Billy was the one that stabbed her. Right?
He appeared to film one garbage 8mm film of her and Billy's dad going into a garbage motel. That's what he did.
Oh,
and so he considers himself the puppet master.
Got it. This guy's pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Dewey and Gale break free and grab Kincaid's gun. Roman brings Milton out and tells Sydney he's the one that fucked everything up. He's like, he's this creep bag that fucked up your mom, Sydney, and he's the one that's got to die. And then Milton offers, he's like, I'll give you anything. I'll give you anything, including Final Cut. And he's like, oh, that's a poor choice of words right there. And he slits Milton's neck and then tells Sid he's going to blame it all on her. And she's like, I don't think that's going to work this time, honestly. No. But let's try it. They fight. But Roman gets the better of her. He chokes the life out of her until Dewey blows the power outside. Kincaid finds the door to this room and immediately bursts in and immediately gets knocked out. Actually, I think he lockpicks it first and then it gets locked out. Roman steals his backup gun and shoots Sydney in the chest. But when he looks back, she's gone. And then Sydney, we see her hand grab a little ice pick. And then she star 69's him. Remember star 69 Tim? Of course you don't.
Never forget.
And then his phone rings before he gets a chance. You're like, oh, cool. She's going to call him and use the voice modulator. Like, hello. But she doesn't. She just jumps out and stabs him a bunch of times in the back. And then when the phone rings, anyway, it doesn't matter. He goes down. He's like, oh, my God, I shot you in the chest. She goes, yeah, but 2 can play that game. And she pulls up her shirt and she's got a bulletproof vest courtesy of the LAPD. And I'm like, did no one see this person ransacking this fucking police officer's desk to get all this shit out of it? Like, someone would have seen her walk out with a bulletproof vest, right?
Can we just touch on really quickly how he planned to frame her for this when 90% of the murders took place while she was not
police custody.
In town? Well, not even in police custody, but not even in town, making phone calls from a place that could easily be tracked and identified because they found her, right? Like, she just has the best alibi out of anyone. Literally anyone else would have been a better candidate. Dewey, Gale, anyone showed up and the murders started happening. So, I mean, good luck, Roman. I guess is what I have to say.
It ain't gonna play. He says, I still got to make my movie. She goes, stab 3, right? And he's like, yeah. And then she stabs him in the chest with his own knife. And then holds his hand as he dies. Classy move there, Sydney.
brother.
Classy move.
Twin brain.
Miss you.
And then Dewey says, "Careful, Sydney. Randy said the killer was going to be superhuman." And then Roman pops back up. He's like, "Ah!" He does the Kermit thing. "Ah!"
Yeah,
And then Dewey shoots him a bunch in the chest. And Sydney's like, "Dewey, dumbass, shoot him in the head." And so he does. And then Roman goes down for the count. The next day, Dewey and Gail wake up. They're doing a little smoochy. And they have a nice little moment on the deck. And Dewey asks Gail if she would sign a copy of her book for him. She's like, "Dewey, that's funny." And he goes, "I just want to sign it." And when she opens it up, there's a ring in there. And she goes,
vandalized the book.
He did. Well, I mean, you have to imagine at this point, poor Dewey was so heartbroken. He's poured over this book multiple. He probably hasn't memorized at this point. So he doesn't need the pages anymore.
He doesn't care as long as he paid full price for it.
Can we hold up? So this is the next day.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, because he still has
he's
like
got the
cuts and
ring?
shit.
Hold on,
I don't know.
it's not the
It
next
might-
day.
it
No,
might
there's
not be
no
the
way
next
it's
day.
the next day.
That's
Well,
good
it's like a
Don't they-
few day. He
but
still
don't
has cuts and stuff on his head, so it's still.
It's close enough that because we get Patrick
Oh.
Dempsey.
Here in Wikipedia, it says sometime after.
Yeah, but it's close to it because he has his arm in the sling, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
comes out with popcorn. You think the movie's gonna end like 3 or 4 times? You think the movie's gonna end with Sid just walking away with her dog and not worried about the gate? You're like,
Right.
okay, closure. But then they're like, hold on, we got another moment. And so Gail, and then they have the Gail and Dewey moment. And then you're like, oh, okay, everyone's happy. And they're like, hold on, I want to know what happened to Patrick Dempsey's character.
I gotta know.
Did he quit his job and then decide to
Nick's
move
gonna
into the
kill us.
woods?
No, I love this. So going along, he says, "I know it will never work. You know it will never work. What I'm asking is to see if we're wrong." She says, "You're a brave man, Dewey Riley." And then Gail kisses him and puts the ring on her finger. We come
What a
back over.
shitty way to like start a marriage. Like, this isn't gonna work. We both fucking know, but fuck it, let's try. Like, this line did not work for me, but I don't care. I loved them together, and I loved that he had the ring in the book and all this shit. I was like, yeah, was this earned? Yeah, it was over the
It was
course of the
fucking
3
earned.
fucking movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it certainly
good for
was.
you guys, main characters.
Sydney opens the gate to her compound and runs with her useless golden retriever, and we're like, "That's a great way to end the scene." And then it doesn't. She goes inside and thinks about setting the alarm, but she doesn't. And then McDreamy comes out, and Dewey and Gail tell her that they're gonna all watch a movie together. He's like, "Hey, you want to watch a movie? It's gonna be great." And he looks like a total dork in this scene. And I'm like, "You could
He's
have
like,
put it."
I can't wait to watch a movie.
It's gonna be
And then, like,
And then he goes,
Like,
"Come
"Well,
on,
you want to watch one of your mom's movies?
yeah.
that would be highly inappropriate." And she goes, "What kind of movie?" And he goes, "You have to come and see." And then he runs out. And then the door behind Sydney opens as if the wind was some sort of ghost or wind or maybe a human being with a knife pushes it. And she goes, "You know what? I'm just going to leave it open." As if to say, I'm going to leave open the endless possibilities
Mosquitoes.
to get murdered.
Fades to black. Fade up from black. She gets the electric bill. It's a disaster.
Because you know it's hot wherever she's at, right?
Yeah.
That air conditioning's been running all
Her
night.
dog's missing. This is a disaster.
Eaten by mosquitoes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Scream 3. Elise Williams, can you please hit me with haiku and review?
7 syllables in the middle, 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't have to rhyme.
That's right.
You second guess yourself, but you
Haiku in review.
Yes.
In
Nailed
review.
it. I love how stressed you get, but then you also commit. You're like, I got it in me. I'm gonna do it. And you always nail it. You always
It's that
get
last
there.
line. It's that last line.
You can go to patreon.com/kindafunny to write your reviews in haiku form, just like Joe Mertens did, who says, "Jay and Silent Bob, Carrie fucking Fisher, yo. Camp is back, fuckers. Camp is back."
Bruh, bruh.
Okay, Soda says, Courtney Cox's hair is the biggest victim here. Nick, is it a wig?
I don't think it's a wig. I think it's just great.
Yeah.
I
lot
love
of
it.
hairspray.
It's a bold choice.
Andrew Feister says, killer on attack. Knives will stab and vases smack. Sydney will fight back. Mother
Wow.
obsession. Yo mama joke there somewhere. Oedipus complex? Yeah, there's a lot of weird mom stuff going on. And that's it. Those are our haikus for this. Remember, write your review haikus for Scream 4 that we're going to do in just a couple days. Elise, can you hit us with a ragu bagu?
Ragu.
No,
Donna-
I
Ragu.
cannot, Tim.
no. Okay. Joey Noel, can you please hit us off with some ragu bagu?
Yeah, the dun 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 dun
Ragu.
dun 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 dun.
Bagu. Thank you
Let's
for that,
go.
Joey. Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys here
That one has way less words. It's way
for
easier.
Scream in Review. It's okay. Joey, at least don't feel embarrassed because Joey was like this. I've got better things to do than sing this song. That was the amount of enthusiasm.
Oh
she
yeah,
put into
I
that.
got nothing.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate it. She's had a lot of camera issues today.
I know.
Joey,
I'm
thanks for
worried
hanging
it's
in with
going to overheat again.
You're going to be fine. Right now on the list, we have Billy and Stu and Peer Pressure at number 1. Number 2 is Aunt Jackie and Mickey and Revenge at, and then number 3, where do we want to put Roman? And the past?
I think it goes number 3. Like,
Yeah.
for all the reasons I love this movie, like the villain's definitely not it. I think this movie cares the least about giving a reason that I care about for why the killer is killing, who the killer is, anything that has to do with the killer. The kills are just not interesting in this, with the exception of the explosion, and that's interesting, debatably for the wrong reasons. So
Definitely, no, not debatably. It's for the wrong reasons. It's stupidly dumb and sticks out, but it's hilarious.
I also love having 2 killers, and this feels like a downgrade.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. I don't love the like retconning of the like, oh, it wasn't actually just Billy with his own motivations. It's like, oh, I was the puppet master behind everything. So yeah, I'm fine with 3.
Yeah.
there
All
we
right,
go.
there it is.
And now it's time to rank the Scream movies. Currently at number 1, we have Scream 1, and at number 2, we do have Scream 2. Where do we want to put Scream 3? Elise, let's just start with you.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I want to start with Elise. She's getting my
I
taste
go
maker on this.
first.
The stress.
I'm so curious. I think I know what Joey's gonna. Oh, she's gone. So
And
for me, and this might just be a lot of personal nostalgia, because I know if we're looking at this from the perspective of a good film, a well-made film, well-written film, it's not 3. But
not
for
there.
me, it's gonna go 1, 3, 2.
I'm
with
right there
Elise
with
on this
you.
one.
Yeah, like I don't even think that there's debate there. Like I think that you said it earlier, but like 3 at least commits to what it is. What it is a weird thing that's not nearly as good or great even as 1, but 2 just didn't work for me. So yeah, I go 1, 3, 2 as well. Nick?
I gotta say, I've been disappointed with you guys in the past. I have. I've been disappointed with each and every one of you. But now is not one of those times. I'm right there with you. This one's fun. And if the rest of them are like this, by the way, I've never been disappointed with you guys. I love you guys. I think this goes number 2 for sure with a bullet. I think Scream 2 is kind of forgettable, and I'm already kind of hazy as what happened. This one is just like, yes, I'll watch these till the cows come home. Why not? This is completely ridiculous and fun.
James, do you have any discerning opinions?
I think we're all on the same page. I mean, like, it was even when we all popped out with our initial reviews at the top of Scream 2, it was like, and then this one, it seemed like we're all like, this movie has a more clearly defined identity than Scream 2 does. Is it worse? Yes, but I think this is a perfect example why sometimes a better movie isn't a better movie, you know?
Yeah,
like, if that makes
totally
sense.
get it.
Like, I understand why this has bad reviews, but I don't think that that's the same thing as being able to enjoy it. This movie is really hard not to enjoy, whereas Scream 2, I felt like there are a lot of points in the middle you're just like, ugh, this is just not recapturing the glory of Scream 1. And it's trying really hard to. Scream 3 doesn't try to recapture anything. It just tries to kind of make you laugh more than anything, you know, like it's like, here are the characters you liked, right? And we're putting them in this wacky situation again. So,
like, you guys nailed it earlier. Someone said that this could be either a Scream or a Scary Movie. And that's
Joey.
Yeah.
That's high praise. Because if you think about it, you kind of do dip into that area. You're like, maybe this is the crossover we didn't even know we got.
Dick in the ear.
Dick in the year.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
forget the
Someone
dick in the year.
someone throws a dick and it spins and it hits
The wrong
in the
end.
forehead.
Balls first.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, we're going to return with Scream 4 later this week on Friday. So make sure you watch it. Get your haikus in for Haiku and Review over on patreon.com/KindaFunny. James, Elise, where can people find you?
You can find us on social media at Elise Willems, at James Willems. You can find us on Rooster Teeth and Funhouse in Last Laugh Season 2, which is currently airing right now. It's a great time. You can find us. When is this episode? Is this live right now?
It's live for Patreon people. It's going public to everyone tomorrow morning.
Patreon members, unless he kicks us out between now and Thursday, we're joining the Scarp and Snowbike Mike Thursday evening for some Major League.
Hell yeah. We were watching Major League Thursday, I believe, 7:30 PT. Go over to twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames. We'll be there. And it's on Amazon Prime as well. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's free for you to watch.
So I've never seen Major League, but I didn't think it was an 80s action movie.
It is not, Joey. It's not. And I know you're going to use that as a case against like why we're not watching Speed. And I have, I'm sorry, Tim, look at the time.
I'm with Joey. You guys gotta watch Speed.
We'll get there.
We'll have
Listen,
to figure this all out.
I think of a lot of movies in just the day, and I go, I wonder if Mike's seen this. And what I do, and because we just recently rewatched Last Action Hero, and I was like, I wonder if Mike's seen this.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah.
Well, let us know in the comments below if you've seen The Last Action Hero or Speed or Major League or any of these other movies that I have not seen. But until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.